Hey, it's the Steel Lodge. Today I've got a great video today, and that's how to mod Skyrim on the Steam Deck. Now the method I'm going to show you requires you use a computer to set up the mods you want, and then you're going to move it over to the Steam Deck. I have done some research, and there does look like there's a way to actually just do everything from your Steam Deck, but the way I'm showing you is kind of nice too, because if you want to bounce back and forth between your desktop and your Steam Deck, you're going to have the same mods on both sides, so your cloud saves will just work on either machine, and you can go back and forth between them however you want. I'll do more investigation into the one you can do all on the Steam Deck. There's some GitHub repos that I've been looking at, so those are pretty interesting and I'll check them out. But let's just jump right into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is open up Nexus Mods in a browser. This website should be really familiar to you if you are familiar to PC modding at all. So one thing that we're actually going to want is a utility called Vortex. You can also use Mod Organizer or whatever you want. Here, let me just go Vortex Mod Manager. So if you go here, you can go ahead and download the latest version of Vortex from Nexus Mods. So go ahead and do that. And if you don't care where it installs, you can just pick the top version. If you want to pick where Vortex installs, pick the bottom one. So go ahead and manually download this. Once that's done, we can open up the executable. Once Vortex is done installing, you want to sign into it with your Nexus Mods account. I'm already signed in here. And then you can go to your games, and you can scan for your games here. Just do a quick scan or a full scan, whatever you want. And if a game is valid, as in it's installed, you can see right here, like I have Resident Evil 2 installed. You can click Manage, and it'll add it back to the top here to this Manage section. I'm installing Skyrim right now, so once that's here, I'll go ahead and add it to the Manage section, and I can work with it. Alright, Skyrim just finished downloading for me, so I'm going to go ahead and run it. You probably want to do this on your end too. Skyrim will set your video settings to whatever, and you can configure this all on here, obviously, but we're more interested on the Steam Deck side of things, so just go ahead and run the game one time so that you can mod it. I don't know if you necessarily need to do this, but you might want to try it out. Now that I've run Skyrim, I'm back on the Vortex side, and I can hit scan. I'll do a quick scan, and Skyrim pops up here. It might not be here for you normally unless you go down and add it in, but I've managed it before, so I guess it recognized it. Now you might want to go here and make sure that your mods are installing to the same directory that your Skyrim installation's on. This is essential, otherwise things might have a problem. Also, if there's any notifications in Vortex, make sure to check them out and clear up any issues that might be there because you don't want any problems happening to your mods. Now that we've added Skyrim to the mod manager, there's something pretty essential that we're going to want to set up, and that's skse. This is Skyrim script extender, and a lot of mods depend on this to work at all. So go ahead and just type in skse, and go to this link right here. I can put it in the description. And we are playing the anniversary edition of Skyrim. That is the latest version. There are other versions available if you want to use those instead. So for us, we just download the 7-zip file. And then once we have it, we open it up. This is what it looks like inside. So it's pretty straightforward what we want to do now. Open this, and then open up your Skyrim game directory, which for me is on my F drive. So if I go in here, we're in here now. And what we're going to want to grab from the 7-zip folder is all the DLLs and the skse64 loader.exe file. So grab those and move them directly over into your root folder where there's the executable files for Skyrim. Next, what we want to do is grab the data file and move that over to our Skyrim folder, and that will put all the files into this data folder, which are mostly just scripts that I'm pretty sure is the script extension part of this. So if you look, you can see these are the scripts, all these .pex files, and then in here .psc files. So we have all those now. So now we can actually start using other mods that rely on skse, such as SkyUI. If we go to Vortex, you can go to your games. So to run skse from the mod manager now, all you do is right here, you see skse64. It's already going to be looking for that specific exe file. You just hit play and it'll open up Skyrim for you. Now that skse is installed, we can go back to Nexus Mods and go to Skyrim Special Edition. Here, Usually I like to sort by popular of old time or check out what's trending. So if you're searching for a specific mod, just type up here. For now, let's go to popular old time. This is a cool one. It adds parallax textures for a lot of the things in Skyrim. But this is an essential one right here, in my opinion. Unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch. And a lot of other patches and mods actually do rely on this. Another really good one is SkyUI, which overhauls the UI for a lot of the things in the game and makes it look a lot nicer to interact with. So it's pretty straightforward from here to use with Vortex. For this, you can just hit Mod Manager Download and wait for a little bit and then hit Download here. And then Vortex will say, I've already downloaded this, but I'll go ahead and download it again. And under our downloads, we can see that this is finished. I can go ahead and install it. And once that's installed, I can go ahead and enable it right here. So if I go to my mods now for Skyrim, we'll see that I have the unofficial Skyrim patch installed and enabled. I'll go ahead and install a couple more mods here real quick, and then we will move things over to the Steam Deck. Here you can see if they require other mods to rely on. Here you can see they have skse.64, which we installed earlier. Also, a lot of the time under description at the top, requirements will be listed here showing what other mods are needed. For some mods, such as this one, a list will pop up allowing you to pick specific things that the mod will let you do. Alright, now that I've got a couple mods installed for Skyrim, there's something pretty important, and that's to go in and sort the load order of the mods. Here you can just hit Sort Now under the plugin section, and it will put the .esp files in the appropriate order. As you can see, we have a lot of the Skyrim Anniversary Edition stuff in here too, but it should sort these ones at the bottom to be the optimal order for the Skyrim to load in. Alright, now that we have our game set up the way that we want it, we're going to go ahead and move the files over to the Steam Deck. I'm going to go ahead and use an external SSD I have that uses USB-C, so I can just plug it into my computer and then plug it directly into the Steam Deck and move the files over. If you want to update the game later on, you can just update it on your computer and move the files back over and everything should be fine. Before you move your files over, I really highly recommend running the game from your desktop and making sure it's stable and there aren't issues before you move it over. That way, you know things will run well. Alright, I've got my SSD plugged in here, my external one that is. I'm going to go ahead and just grab this whole Skyrim Special Edition folder, copy it, and paste it in here. And then when that's done, I will move that to my Steam Deck, and I will install the game, and Steam should find this and identify all the files here. Now, I'd really recommend this next step because it's going to save you a lot of time later on. Go to this location, I'll put it down in the description below. This part will be replaced by your username on your Windows machine. And take this plugin folder, or plugin file rather, it's going to look something like this. And this is automatically generated by Vortex. This is the one that we just created when we organized our load order in the Vortex application. And you can see here we have a bunch of ESL and ESP files. And this is going to tell Skyrim what files to load, what plugins to load, and what order to load them in. We're going to go ahead and grab that file, copy it, and paste this file over to my SSD as well for you wherever you're going to move it over. I'll show you where to put it on the Steam Deck. It's a little bit hidden, but if you don't have this file, it's going to be annoying because there are mods like SkyUI that use skse that they won't enable from the in-game menu. In Skyrim, at the very front menu, you can go to mods and press Y to change load order, and you can enable those mods on the Steam Deck, but then it'll reboot the game and you can launch into the actual game and your mods won't be enabled. Doing it this way will make your mods work. So it saves you a lot of time just to move over to the one that that Vortex generated. Okay, we're on the Steam Deck now. I haven't connected my SSD, but I'll show you the locations that you might want to put the game. Go ahead and open up the File Explorer. So if you want to put the game on your MicroSD card, go to your primary, go to Steam Apps, and go to Common. This is where you're just going to want to drag and drop the game into. If you want to put the game onto your internal storage, go to local, share, Steam, steamapps, common, and then just drag it in here and drop it, and it'll install to your local storage. For me, I'm gonna go ahead and try it on my local storage this time. I've already done it on my microSD card, so we'll give this a shot. So I'll go ahead and plug in my external SSD now to my Steam Deck, and just plug in it directly into my dock that I got right here. It opened up. I'll just go ahead and go to my games folder, and then I'll go ahead and copy this and paste it here. Now that I think about it, I actually have to do one thing in my Steam settings as well, and that is I have to make my default install location my SSD, my internal one that is. Because if I leave it as my microSD card, Steam's going to go ahead and start downloading Skyrim Special Edition to my microSD card instead of making it just scan this folder that I just dragged in. Now there are a couple changes we need to make to the Skyrim Special Edition folder that we have here, but I'll do those as soon as it's done moving over everything. So I'm going to go ahead and make my internal SSD my default install location so it picks this up. If I just go to settings and downloads and set Steam library folders, I can make my internal drive the default. And then I can close that, hit OK. Go to my Steam library here. And then type in Skyrim and go to this computer and install it. So it'll show you where it's going to install it. If you're in desktop mode, you can pick, I guess, actually. But in game mode, it would just install the default location. So hopefully this just picks up my local files here. Here you can see that it is discovering the local game files just like I had intended it to. So this will not take as long as actually just downloading the game onto the Steam Deck again and moving things over into that folder. Once the game's installed and everything, you might want to run it locally just to make sure that everything's working and that the settings might update themselves because it's on a different computer. As you can see, some things are changing here in the files. Shouldn't take very long. As you can see here, Skyrim detected my video hardware, and you might want to do this on your end, and I would recommend configuring your game for what you want to run here. It looks like it's detecting my external monitor, but I'm just going to put it at 720p for now, and then just high settings. And then we can go ahead and exit, and if we go to the GPU text right here, I'm curious. Yeah, this updated. So definitely run it locally before you start modding and everything, because this is set at RTX 3090 because it was my desktop version before, so run it to update everything. Okay, this next part's pretty important, and there are two options that you have. When we launch Skyrim from desktop mode and click on it here, or launch it from game mode, it's going to go ahead and launch this Skyrim SE launcher.exe. We don't want this. We want skse loader to be run. So if you want the launcher to pop up, so when you play Skyrim, you get this little window that prompts you what settings you want to pick and everything, I'll show you how to modify it for that. So you actually get this window still. If you don't want that window, the most straightforward thing to do is to copy this and make a backup of it, and then rename skse64loader.exe Skyrim SE launcher.exe. So that way Steam will want to just load the skse loader instead. We're basically tricking it and making it load this exe instead. And that way you won't get a launcher pop up like I just showed you. But if you do want that launcher pop up every time, here's what you're going to do. Make a backup of this. And we'll just call this backup. Just so you have a backup version of it. And then rename this to underscore, just like OG, something like that. And then rename this Skyrim SE.exe. So that way the launcher will went ahead and think this is the actual original version of the file. But there's something else we need to do. We need to go to data, and then if it's not here, you're going to want to make a new folder and call it skse. Go in here. If you just go create a new text file, that'll do fine, and call this skse.ini. Okay, once this file is made, open it with a text editor. Enter in the following. I'll put this in the description too. And this is essentially pointing to the file that you want. And it's not an arrow, it's actually just the equal sign. So if we do that and save this, and then if we go back here, we can see this is Skyrim SEOG. So now let's go ahead and launch Skyrim Special Edition. Looks fine. We go ahead and play it, and you can see this is the skse pop-up. That means things are working. And we'll actually probably load in the game here. Yep, loads into the game just fine. Let me show you what it looks like if I did that incorrectly. Oh, I don't want to download this right now. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. So if I go to that folder, and make this something incorrect, like if I did that, and then I go ahead and ran this, it's gonna pop up the launcher, but when I hit play, we're gonna have a problem. Hit play, and you can see that it can't find the file. It doesn't exist, the runtime. So make sure you have this set up the right way if you want the launcher to pop up every time. Otherwise, just rename the other thing the launcher and skse, swap them. Okay, I got Skyrim running from desktop mode, and I just wanted to show you guys something. If you go down to mods, and this is on my Steam Deck, by the way, not on my desktop anymore. So if you press Y here, you can see the load order. So here are all the mods that I installed earlier. So here you can enable them, but it was like I was telling you earlier, where certain ones like SkyUI, even if you enable it here and then launch your game, it's actually just going to disable it and it's not going to work. So that's where that text file that I told you about earlier, the plugins one, comes in handy. So I'll show you now how you can move that over. Okay, so let's move the plugins.txt file to where it needs to go. So go ahead and copy this. Go to your home, local, share, Steam, steamapps, compatdata, and then this is the Skyrim app ID for the Special Edition. So go in here, go to PFX, go to Drive C, Users, steamuser. Here, go to AppData. Sorry, my mouse is lagging out. And then go to Local, Skyrim Special Edition. There's one here already, but you can see that this one, we don't want it, we want ours. So we'll go ahead and nuke this, just delete it, and then paste our new one in here that we copied over. So if we open this now, you can see this is the one that we had generated by Vortex. So now, let's launch Skyrim and see what it looks like. Okay, we're back in game mode. We're gonna go ahead and launch Skyrim now. It should open up the Skyrim launcher just like we set it up to do. Unfortunately, the mapping for the touchscreen on here is wacky when you put it on a remote screen. So I'm gonna hit play there. So you actually might just want to set it up to be the non-launcher mode once you have your settings dialed in for the graphics you want. That thing you saw pop up there was just the skse working. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the performance overlay. Let's make a new game. Start a new game. Mods are enabled. Yep. And we'll know right away if this works because I have the alternate life path start, and it looks like we're starting at a dungeon. So let's just go with a red guard and hit X. We'll type in our name. As you can see, this is the alternate life path starting for Skyrim. The mod, that is. So let's check one other thing. let's make sure SkyUI is working. And here we got SkyUI, and this is one of the ones that needs skse. So that plugin list.txt file is essential, because if you don't do it like that, you won't have stuff like this working. And this is a really nice mod for way better UI. And you could even remap your right trackpad, like I'll do right now. If I go to view the game details, go here, and I want the gyro here. I'm going to edit this, go as mouse, and then make it so. Here I need to go into edit layout. You can make your click the left click, and then if I go back to Skyrim now, unfortunately it's not working as well as I wanted it to, where it would pop up with this as a mouse, but I'm sure you could get it figured out pretty easily. But SkyUI is super nice, so let's go ahead and jump into the game, and I'll put some gameplay footage up here so you can see what Skyrim running with some mods on the Steam Deck looks like and runs like.
Even the lowest among us can rise to greatness.
Let me know if you want anything. Think I got a clean mug around here somewhere.
They can't hurt Uncle Rob here. Tell them he didn't do it.
Positions. Tomorrow you need to go home. Go home and stay there until your mother comes. Get on with it!
You betrayed us!
So let's say you want to add another mod to your Skyrim game. Well, it should be pretty straightforward. Here I want to add the Quality World Map mod. I'll go ahead and download it with the mod manager. I'll pop up in Vortex. I'll install it and enable it. I'll go to my plugins again and sort it. It might be auto sorted already, as you can see. And now all you would do is make sure you grab that plugins file that I mentioned earlier and just drag the Skyrim data back over onto your Steam Deck. So let me pull it up here. So essentially in here, I would just grab these files, probably mostly just the data one, but it might depend. Yeah, there's nothing in there. So probably just the data one. It depends on the mod. And then drag it over into your Steam Deck. So I'll go ahead and update this, put it on my SSD, and then put it back on my Steam Deck and show you that I got this one on there too. Alright, I've already went ahead and moved the new data over, but what you want to do is move this new plugins file from your drive back onto the Steam Deck location, which I will list in the description as I mentioned before. That will overwrite the old plugins folder, or old plugins file with the new plugins file, and that's the load order of all the mods and all the mods that you want enabled. Then just copy this whole Skyrim Special Edition folder and paste it into this common folder, and just allow it to write the info into there, and then basically skip all the files that you don't want to overwrite, or if you know that there are files that are overwritten, then let them overwrite them. And with that, if we boot Skyrim back up, we should see that our game has been updated and the new mods that we wanted are in there. Alright, here we are back in Skyrim. If I open up my map, you'll see the map looks much nicer than the vanilla map, and that's because it has the mod that I just updated and installed into there. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you have no trouble setting up the mods you want for Skyrim. Please subscribe, because I'm going to be checking out, like I said, the version you can do from the Steam Deck completely without having to use your other computer at all. And I'm also going to be looking at games like Oblivion, Fallout 4, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and even Morrowind to see how I can set the mods up on the Steam Deck. And hopefully it's not too difficult, but I'll make sure to have videos for you guys. Later.